All right, recording now. Second recording. Hello, everyone. Sandra here with Angelica, and Angelica's here with Sandra, so we can be fair. So anyway, so let's talk about. I kind of opened a can of worms with the giving, and let's just see where the energy takes us. These are just observations and insights. Those of you who are watching, hopefully you'll gather something. If not, you don't. We just want to share this. But piggybacking, excuse me, on this last conversation, I was indoctrinated or conditioned, whatever word you want to use, in the spiritual realm to give. And this is when I was having a lot of problems also attracting more clients and things like that. And we can look at limiting beliefs and all that other stuff. But I want Angelica to speak about this, but I will just premise it with saying, to start up this conversation, is that it is not correct for me, Sandra Rojo, to be in a relationship, whether it's a client or people it doesn't matter what it is, when there isn't reciprocity. And I'm sorry, something just popped up here. Let me pull it down. And more so, I bought into the belief that I just had to give my services for free and give my time for free and be there all the time. And so now, Angelica, you can speak.
Okay, and you mentioned spiritual, and yes, that's a whole nother religion, and people have to realize that it's, they jumped off the boat of their religion, so to speak, and they said, oh, I want to know more of this, and they chose spiritual, but that's just another religion. So I think we have to be careful of what we're buying into, and it's just another belief system. And really, going back for women especially, and I think this is to our audience is going back to childhood, what a woman was supposed to be, the giver, the nurturer, and that's instinctively in her. So yes, we are the givers, yet a giver has to be replenished somehow. And so if she doesn't have a supportive husband or partner, if it's always take from everyone and she becomes the slave or the supposed to do everything, there becomes resentment, because you have to. When you're not being refilled, then what happens is you become so empty and tired, and you don't feel valued. We all have to feel valued. If we're not valued, what's the purpose of it? And yes, we value ourselves, but I'll tell you, the more we learn to value ourselves, yes, the more we attract those that do value us. So there's always lessons in that, but our society already set up this, women were supposed to look at this. I look back at the 50s ads when my mother was, she had some of us children, and she was supposed to have the vacuum cleaner with her little skirt and her perfect, little top with her pearls and perfect made hair. And I mean, give me a break. So yes, we have evolved and been cheery and wonderful for a husband and have dinner made and deal with all these kids, whatever. And he sits down and he's reading the paper, he's wine, smoking his pipe, whatever the heck. So we've created these stereotypes that there does become an imbalance. And that's why I believe the masculine and the feminine became so out of balance, because each one wasn't honoring and nurturing the other like they needed to be. And then getting back to human design. This is just playing out on the stage, our internal, right? So we can get back to human design, and I can see my two, my sun and my moon on the conscious masculine side of my chart, and my sun and moon on my unconscious feminine, and how they need to support each other. But the feminine is so unconscious that we don't even realize that's what that dance that has to happen. And so our parents and society is just a reflection of what we're trying to do internally within ourselves. And so that's what I think for me, and I think for you, we're really looking at now, like, where is that dance going on? What's happening in the unconscious feminine that wants to be made aware, so it really supports the masculine side of self. So it's not masculine, feminine is male, men and women.
Yeah, it's not a gender thing, you guys.
Exactly. So, go ahead from there.
Yeah, no, I love that you said that. And it's, no, I mean, I agree. I can't really add much to that in the sense that it's a beautiful thing and it isn't a gender. And I grew up, of course, the reason why I wasn't as assertive when it came to certain things, now being a small business owner, it's a different, it's a different culture, and you have to, when we talk about assertive, I'm not saying like, oh, you got to push through and, pull people and force it. It's kind of understanding the flow of it and the dance. And of course, Angelica has been an entrepreneur, which is even great, because then we both understand that, and I can learn from her as well as I go along. But not getting off topic, it's like, it took me a long time to make it okay to, for example, when it comes to money, people have this aversion. It's like, money is the root of all evil. And I don't believe that. And so when we say give, 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 it's like you're saying nurturing. I don't even believe, to be honest with you, that if a person does volunteer work, they do it completely without any kind of reward. It's got to be an intrinsic reward. And that's what I'm talking about. So when we hear people say, oh, I just give, or just give, 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 and don't expect anything, I'm going to be provocative and say, that's bullshit. That is, if you really look at the common denominator, when somebody says don't expect anything, I think they're lying to themselves, because, and it doesn't have to equal money, but when someone says, I just give all my time to charity and do all that, and it's like, and I don't expect anything from it, I don't think that's true. And I would challenge anybody who buys into the belief, especially women, like you said, it's just, oh, it's like we're not Mother Teresa. And I think men, and I like what you said about the masculine energy, this is something that most women, or at least in our generation, maybe not millennials, because they come in with a completely different mindset, but because a lot of things have been, I think, given to them. But it's about balancing, bringing in the sacred masculine into our lives. And I look at the men in my life, my cousins and my husband, and I look and I think, wow, how did you do that? How did you? I find it fascinating, and I like that. And for those of you who are against men or whatever, don't. That's a really narrow perspective. I think we have a lot to learn from men and the masculine energy, which is different. And I think that men have a lot to learn from the feminine energy as well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And again, we go through this dance with the universe. You brought up the word dance, and that was very much what I was thinking. So with creation. And so we're coming in, we all talk movie, that we're projecting this, and yet we don't like our movie, so we blame it on that thing out there. So instead of saying, okay, let's dance with the shadow, my masculine is not being supported. Okay, so let me back up just a tiny bit. For instance, then when the women said, wait a minute, I'm not being recognized anymore. I'm the mother, the confidant, the taking kids to school, the housekeeper, the entrepreneur, the providing the cook, whatever it is. And it seems it's so out of balance. That's when the woman stood up and said, okay, I'm going to work. Now what happened is, it's almost like she was like, I'm doing this for me and I want to be valued, was the real message. I want to be valued, because women weren't valued. The husband didn't come and say, it's kind of like, well, she doesn't do anything. She just stays home and I make all the money. Well, wait a minute. How much would it cost you to get a sitter, for a nanny for your kids, a housekeeper, a cook, somebody to go shopping, somebody to take your kids to doctor appointments and teacher meetings? So it's absolute BS, because you agree to something together, but again, it's that play that's happening within us. So my unconscious feminine rebelled, against the masculine ways, the force, this is how it's done, this is I'm more important, and went crash the other way. And now we're coming back to center where we see, wait a minute, okay, this is playing in the world this way. And therefore, it's only because I want to see my shadow feminine. How does it support my masculine? How does it support, where's the gift? And and where when we dance together between the two, will we attract all of those in our life that can give us what we're truly looking for? Because we can't get what we're truly looking for if the dance within is out of balance, if we're blaming the men out in the world, or the men in the world are blaming the feminine.
Oh, that's just terrible. Yeah, the blaming is just really, the second wave feminism is, I'm not even for it.
And you can't even say, when you said about Mother Teresa, because there's two sides of that story. There's some that said she was doing it very much for the ego, and there was lots of reasons why. Now, and there's others that say, no, she was pure in this. Now, anybody that's it's saying, oh, I do it out of the goodness of my heart, and already, because somebody that's truly selfless is already being fed by their own universal power, because they're truly in love with themselves. How many beings do you see walking the planet like that? So they're giving, but it's coming back. They're giving and it's coming back, and they would never make a comment like that. So it's already like, okay, that's nice. And it's not to say, oh, shove it in their face and say, oh, you wouldn't even say that if you were truly, if you bought it. I know so many women that gave, because all they wanted to do was be recognized. They wanted to be important. Oh, if it wasn't for me, these people would suffer. Well, that's horribly egoic, because number one, are you empowering them? Or are you actually keeping them down by thinking you need to fix everything in their lives? And it's because of you as the savior goddess, so we have to cut our crap out, and say, no, why are we really in this?
Yeah.
Why am I really doing this for this person? Do I want something in return? Okay, if I want something in return, then I need to say, I'm hoping to get this in return. I don't know if that's doable. Be honest about it. Don't play games.
No, I agree with you. And I think that is, and I think part of what we're talking about, and the other video is about being really deliberate. Now with me, I won't accept, not that I won't accept like in a bad way, but it's just, I want to resolve conflict. And if you want to do this through text messaging or emails, and you don't want to speak by voice, and then you don't not only respect me, you don't respect yourself. And there's not an integrity there. And so these are the boundaries that I have. And so when you're talking about, hey, these are what you're saying is connected to that. How can we become more deliberate? What are my expectations? And be aware of that and say, so that's why I don't think there's anything selfish with saying, what am I going to get in this relationship? And not in the shadow, what am I going to get? It's like, is this valuable to myself, to this other person? And if it's not, it's okay. No harm, no foul. But I want to be deliberate. I noticed, and you brought up mindfulness and being in the moment. I noticed that when I'm deliberate and when I'm selective, it's not about being a snob or arrogant or anything like that. It's that when I can really be intentional about the kind of people that I want to be spending time with like this, it's because it's valuable, and it comes across in the videos, and it comes across in the relationships. And I think that ripples outward rather than just trying to force something to happen. So I'm getting a lot from this relationship with you and from this video. And so and I want to be able, that energy, I want it to go outward,
And what you're saying too is that's why I don't care if people believe in human design or not. We've got 5 modalities stacked on each other. So we've got the ancient I Ching, we've got the tree of life, the Kabbalah, we've got DNA science, we've got astrology. So somebody's doing just astrology, that's only one tiny piece of this. Where this is, I like to know who I'm dealing with. And I even put that on a post to a group and said, tell me your birth date and this if you want to know. it was so I would know how to relate to these people. Only one person did that wanted to know. So it's okay. It's all right. But I could relate to that
person you were talking about.
Yeah, I could relate to that person then on the way I knew they could hear me, or they needed to be heard. And so for you, when you said, I don't want to text, I don't want to do it this, I have to do it on the phone or, in person. And that's because, according to your chart, you need to speak and hear what is being said to know if it's true for you, for yourself, and what another is saying, and then you can take that and digest it and repeat it back. You have to hear it. So somebody else, their technique they can't do that. Maybe they do have to write it out concisely because they have an emotional response. They have to be with it for a while. So maybe they have to write something out, a journal, but really go into the depth of, oh, I see maybe what's happening, when you start to reveal things, and maybe could share a letter with you or read it back to you. So I think it's perfect when we each know what we are and then how we can share back to another. So, if somebody, oh dear, some Italian person is calling me.
Don't rub it in that you're in Italy, okay? Don't rub it in.
Yeah, I'm going to just rub that in. No, but the thing is that it's like, again, if that person knows that, say, their type is to write it and that's how they get clarity, and they can get jumbled up talking and confused, and then they got off and they feel awful that they weren't heard or they didn't get to express what they said. So they can say to you, I have kind of an emotional response, and my mechanism is to kind of journal about it. And I journal about it and then share it with you. So then it's respectful, like that person is respecting themselves. So to know thyself best first is the key. It's not that you're supposed to know what they are unless you've already had a relationship like you and I have, that we know.
But I also think, I totally do. And I think that, but a lot of people really, to be honest, are not at that level that we're talking right now. And so when you said, and thank you for acknowledging, hey, you need to sometimes talk out, but I prepare you. I'll say, Angelica, I need to talk out loud about something, to hear my own truth, my own voice. And then you might come in and say, you even explained to me that sometimes if there isn't an energy to respond to something, you won't. And there is that's reciprocity that I'm talking about as well, rather than saying, well, she didn't answer my question or whatever, or, taking it personal. It's like you were saying, it's being respectful towards each other, and it's effortless. For those of you watching it, believe it or not, it sounds like it's a lot of work, but it really is not. It's about becoming self-confident, to the best of your ability about who you are and what might feel right. Some people, Rosie even used to say sometimes, I'll ask her a question. Rosie is somebody that we actually know in human design, but she used to say, I need to percolate on that. Give me a few days. And that was it. It was just very simple. It's not like I'm going to ignore you, reject you. I'm not going to accept you or anything like that and write you off, because there's so many people in human design and just in the world at large that say, well, I don't like what I'm hearing, so I'm just not going to talk to you because you triggered me and I'm not going to work through it. No, it's like you and I, and that's what I've been talking about. These are the kind of friendships I want. These are the kind of relationships I want. These are the kind of people, is to be able to grow with each other. I'm constantly learning. I don't think I know it all or have resolved it all. But to feel that respect, right? What I get from you, Angelica, is absolutely precious.
And likewise, otherwise this relationship wouldn't work the way it was, and we wouldn't be learning and growing as we are. Because there's a mutual respect and a mutual respect for each other and ourselves. And yes, you're absolutely right. People might think it's difficult to know these things. It is so much easier. If I know someone has an emotional response, I don't expect them to make a snap decision like I am. I'm going to say, out of respect, I want you to feel this out for a few days. Go meditate on it. Don't get back to me right away. Just when it feels correct. Or if I know they're sacral, it's kind of like it's a pause, but it's or It's very guttural. I'm gonna know their way. And somebody that's a reflector that needs 28 days to make a decision, a lunar cycle, I am not going to try to make them buy something from me when then it could be so wrong for them. So it's just, unless they're approaching me and saying, this is what I want. I really want to sign up for your class or your coaching or your design or whatever it is. I've been watching you for a while, and I will find that with a reflector, that they had been watching me for a while, and that's what they need. So that's being respectful. That's not trying to make them, do something, but I'm going to give you this fabulous deal if you do within 24 hours. That's so limited thinking. That's so lack consciousness, because remember, that's an aspect of ourself. So that's what we're doing to ourselves. And so, yeah, I think what we're doing is this dance of self-love and respect right now. And to do that, we're getting to know all the aspects of ourselves, all the players in our movie. Why are they triggering? What is it we need to do compassionately? What can we release? It's like a toxic cleanse. These are going to move out of our system. These are going to come in, So, yeah, it's just beautiful to be able to. It is
absolutely beautiful. And I think that I would like to end that with Angelica's great words. I think that, because I was going to ask you if you felt you needed to say anything more, some tips, but I think that's perfect. It's just waiting it out, loving yourself. And I think that really, if you don't mind, I think to not, go on, that's a perfect ending for now. What do you think?
I think it's perfect. And it's just always a joy to be with you, no matter how.
I know, me too. And please do really listen to the last words that Angelica said about loving yourselves, and really, and I'll actually let you say the last word on that, and then we'll end the recording. Anything more? No, you say the last, because I love that. I love the way you put it. So rewind, let's just say rewind to that point. And that's really the message, I think, for today is to really learn to love yourself and get to know yourself. So,
and all the players in your movie, because it is our movie. And am I delighted not to find this beautiful aspect of myself out there? And I'm only finding these aspects because of my love and compassion for myself, my willingness to listen to my inner child, or this part of me or that part of me that maybe was once out of balance. And that's why the pieces out there, or the players out there, are out of sync, because they're not being heard. So yeah, let's listen to what he has to say and just bless this journey.
And we will end it with those beautiful, wise words. And we will be seeing you again soon with another recording. And if you all have any questions, please comment below once we get this up. And we'll leave it with love yourself.